there is a causal link between a safety incident, a minor safety incident, and mental health. Nearly 20 to 25% of the time, we need to be adding, as part of my framework, another layer of that. Well, okay, operator error caused by what? We stop at operator error, and that's it. We park it. Right? How do we need to discipline this individual? It's like, no. Let's move the discipline. Do we need to talk to this individual? Do we need to either coach them, dig a bit deeper, find out whether they are okay? Because chances are, 1 in 4 of your incidents, somebody's not thinking straight because of their lived experience that they're thinking about.
So they're not actually at work, they're not really there. So they're there in body, but they're not necessarily in mind. They're not 100% thinking on the job. They may be thinking about the care they've got to give to their mum tonight, or the bills that they can't pay tomorrow, whatever it might be. Welcome to a In the Straitjacket construction special. Today we're joined by soon-to-be Dr. Colin Whitely. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you very much, Russell. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's beautiful to have you here, and really looking forward to our chat today. Interesting times going on in construction, interesting times, I think, going on in society at the moment. You're doing some amazing work at the minute with your research, your data collection, your doctorate that you're going to be submitting in
hopefully I'm in the final stages of the doctorate now, so I'm looking at completion probably within the next 6 to 8 weeks, once my supervisor gives me the go ahead with it. So in terms of sort of the final draft or final submission, I could be defending my work in the next sort of 3 to 4 months, hopefully. So that's the aim.
And I know, like, and for all of our audience, listen, what's coming out in this thesis is something that that needs to be kept where it needs to be kept at the moment. But would you like to give us a little outline as to where you're going with it?
So the research that I've been undertaking over the last 3 years has been around mental health in the construction industry, primarily focusing, Russell, on the preventative side, and early indicator warning signs of people displaying mental health troubles. And so it's been looking at whether there's a link to mental health and safety incidents, and my research currently indicates that there is a definite link. So the evidence is there.
I think, it's really interesting. I kind of, when I think of all the work that's been done over the last, Mates in Minds is kind of my, if you like, my measuring stick, which was launched because I spoke at the launch of it, and that was, I suppose, at the forefront of our industry putting something in place that creates a awareness to enable men and to enable everyone working in construction to start talking.
Somebody had to be a pioneer in the construction industry, and Mates in Mind were one of the first to sort of stand out.
But so were construction sport. So Steve Kerslake, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, like, if you go back to then, and I think what was going on then, the Olympics had been built, and what a success really they were. The Olympics had been built, but when I go back to then, Steve Kerslake had just started construction sport. Mates in Mind were just starting their Start the Conversation campaign and Get the Industry Talking campaign. It's okay to not be okay. Tideway was just getting off the ground with its project then as well. And I suppose when you look at it, we're sort of 10 years nearly down the line from that. And statistics, I think there's argument to say that statistics have maybe got worse.
I think
awareness has got better.
Yes, awareness has got better. Statistically speaking, I'm not sure there's been any improvement in rates of incidents in terms of the likes of suicide, unfortunately. But the element of starting 10 years ago, I'm so glad that these individuals started the ball rolling at that point, because we're now 10 years further down the line. We've done 10 years worth of foundation works for us, which has kind of led the way for people like me and the likes of Dr. Luke Hans to start looking at it.
Dr. Luke Hand.
Yeah,
he does some great work, doesn't he?
to start looking at sort of empirical evidence that supports the fantastic work that the likes of Steve and Mates in Mind are doing. And so, in terms of from a cultural perspective, that's going to be the next sort of driver in terms of the change within the industry. But sadly, no, the statistics haven't really greatly improved.
Changed. No. I wonder if it's more the fact that they haven't changed. Well, okay, let me ask you the question. What do you think the reason is?
There's an element of underreporting. And I think reporting may have improved since then with regards to sort of national statistics. But the likes of the stigma and the sort of generational attitudes within construction haven't necessarily shifted as quickly as the times have. So it's a really sad reflection on society that we've been able to make a difference in that. And I'm hoping that within the next sort of 4, 5, 6 years, that the empirical evidence database of the sort of academia that's taking place at the moment starts getting the traction within government organisations, because unfortunately that is the only way things will change with regards to sort of policy around mental health within work. And government will only look at things like, what's your data? And without people carrying out the data exercises, it's really hard to persuade sort of.
Do you think it's just construction?
There's an argument that whilst construction is predominantly a very stressful environment, some of the papers that I've read as part of the research sort of indicate there's other sort of industries such as like dentistry and sort of soliciting lawyers, barristers. But there is a very specific difference between the sort of the law industry and say the dentistry industry, and that's all around about autonomy. About being a solicitor, for example, you have a level of autonomy that is far greater than somebody who might be labouring on site. They have a choice which works they undertake, in terms of where they're working away from home, if they should or need to. But their lifestyle is different. Their remuneration package is different.
So their earnings are different. More response, more autonomy, more responsibility, more money. That stacks.
Yeah, and when you look at, say, I'm going to use a very generic labourer. In everybody's minds. They've got a choice where they work. No, they've not. If they need to put food on the table, they are going to take the first job that comes to them, and so they don't have a choice.
So it's really interesting, isn't it? Because if you ask me, what does that mean in psychological terms? That's a more heightened level of survival mode.
Yeah.
So more survival mode drives a more protective ego, a more protective psychological mechanism existing inside of that person, which maybe creates more their container, if we want to talk stress containers, their container to be more full and concentrated with the wrong maybe, or the requirement for more shadow work, the requirement for more work in the lower echelons of the human ego's 2.5 million years worth of survival mechanism.
Yeah. And so if you look at sort of the elements of that stress container, people who live personal experiences will fill half of that up. And so if the other half isn't being managed adequately and they don't have the control or the autonomy to manage the other half of that container filling up, it will lead to stress, which will lead to mental health problems.
Of course. And I guess what we then look at is okay, everyone has a container.
Yeah.
I think it'd be reasonable to say that every human being has got a container, even if he's got nothing in it from a stress perspective, that everyone has a container. And everyone has a valve and a mechanism of being able to let out some of that container. Does our industry really, truly provide that ability for us for the release of stress out of their container?
In
Does mental health first aid
Yeah.
work, in your opinion?
in my opinion, it's a nice to have. As to whether it works or not is all depends on how that organisation deploys mental health first aider. If you are just doing it for a tick box exercise to say that we have 15 mental health first aiders, there's no point having them. But if you give the opportunity for your contracting workforce and your subcontracting workforce to have access to those whilst they're working for you and beyond, because it's that element of beyond, once that contractor finishes with you in 2 weeks' time, who do they go and see next? And so it's maintaining that open link with individuals that do need the support. But in terms of is there the right release mechanism valve, I'm inclined to say the vast majority no. I don't believe there is.
No.
You are left to, it is perceived by some of the qualitative research that I've done that the policies that organisations have are not authentic. There's a fidelity issue with regards of we have this, but we do this, or we say that, and we do this.
Yeah, so walking the talk.
Yeah, and so
or not walking the talk.
Yeah, I find a lot of individuals utilise their own elements of release valves. Some of them are have got great resilience, and they've got a great coping mechanism, going to the gym, socialising with their friends, playing sports. But for a large swathe of individuals within the industry and the demographic that I interviewed and surveyed, that release valve often revolves around self-medication with alcohol, self-medicating with drugs, and thinking that's helping the situation, and actually no, it's compounding the situation.
Numbing and
yes.
running.
Yeah.
I know it well. I'm sadly. I don't know if that's sadly or not. I know it well. Sadly or not sadly, it's something that I think is evident across the industry.
Yeah.
I think it's got a huge amount to do with a lacking in emotional intelligence. And I mean this with respect to men. I am one. We're quite simplistic. We're testosterone-driven mammals that are hunter-gatherers, are, with respect, the more physically built out of the male and female species, because nature designed it that way as a reason, for a purpose.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily emotionally intelligent. We don't have the ability to maybe translate all of those emotions.
Yeah.
And I suppose when we've got a large amount of them heading our way, and that might not just be at work. You know, we have a product here that I've spoken to you about today, which is the 4 rooms. And, you know, the 4 rooms drives an understanding of emotional calibration around workplace and achievements in life, how we look after the self, what we have inside of us that we didn't choose by way of our DNA and our ancestral line, and then what we do choose by way of our friends. Well, the perception of poor and good emotions can be swirling around all 4 of those rooms at any given time. So someone might be taking something from home into their workplace. They don't know what they're dealing with at home. They might be dealing with looking after an unwell parent or an unwell child. And actually they go to work. And we were talking about this earlier. Actually they go to work. And actually by going to work, this is almost like a bit of a release for them.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, it's inverted. In a way.
That's right. Yeah.
But some people will see it, no, hold on, we're going to work is stressful. We're going to work in construction is stressful. It's not always, is it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you look at the element of the distraction.
Yeah.
Some of the research I did read was around the element of going to work can sometimes be part of your treatment, your self
therapy, like almost therapeutic, right?
Yeah. And if you're in the right environment, in an environment and culture of support in terms of who you're working with, sometimes being in work is the better option than being at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not been immune to the issues that I've been researching, you know, self-medicating with alcohol or alcohol misuse.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there and done that. And I wish I knew in my 20s what I know now. But some of the cultural shift I'm seeing within construction, and as part of the research I undertook with some of the interviews I did, people, the younger generation, and God, 42, the younger generation, or the 20-year-olds and the 22, 23-year-olds, they aren't going to the pub when they're working away 4 or 5 nights a week. They're going to the gym together. And I sit there and I smile inside and go, well done you. You know, they're coming in with the protein lunches, the nutrition, and looking after themselves. And so I'm not saying they might be in a better mental health state of mind, but they're not abusing the one tool that they've got, the body and the brain, and giving themselves the best opportunity.
So they're looking after their body. So we talk about the body, mind, and soul. We talk about the self. They're looking after themselves, the self, in a better way. In a better manner. Surely that has to be good for our industry, no?
And this is the problem, the dichotomy that we've got within the research is that we've got this new wave coming in. Fantastic. I'm really happy about it. There is a fundamental shift, even with the low alcohol, zero alcohol beer stuff. You know, you've seen them on social nights out at work, and they're on lemonades and cokes. Well done. They're equipping themselves with the best possible opportunities and outcomes to not go down that spiral. But what happens now with the sort of intergenerational difference is that, you know, my age and upwards, I see it as quite indulgent.
You're millennial, right?
Yeah, I'm Generation X, I think, from 1983. So
you're 83, so I think you're just millennial. So I'm Generation X. I'm 77.
Right. Okay. And you're seeing that the next, well, I'd say the next generation above me is looking at that as indulgent.
Z.
The mental health day. Who do you think you are? Get back into it. And we've still got that change of. They tend to be the line management of these individuals. And so these are going, no, it's okay that I'm feeling a bit crap today. Get back in. We've got a job to do, and you've got that, and it's. You can see that.
Man up and get on with it.
Just
put your big boy pants on. Get your big boy pants on and get on with the job.
And so we can't. So that is still impacting here. And so part of my framework was around training the leadership around the element, not training them into mental health first aid.
No,
training them around the element of the culture shift. Actually, this is not an issue when somebody says, "Do you mind if I work from home today?" Because struggling a bit, and then. And them understand, look, it's all right to struggle. They're not trying to slack off.
No.
You know, and that's the paradigm we've got at the moment. That generation.
I think the kind of put your big boy pants on message is still indicated, but not directly said.
I think there is.
It's disguised as almost like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
There is a definite element of people are now starting to realise they can't say things like that. You know, just crack on.
But it's a sheep in wolf's clothing.
No, that's
all going around the way.
I got what you meant. But it's inferred. It's a hidden text. It's a hidden subtext in conversations. Come and talk to me if you've got a problem, or you got, you know, I'm a mental health first aider, but I'm busy this afternoon, so don't just crack on for the second.
Get on with it, basically.
I'm saying it. I've got to say it because it's in my toolbox risk assessment. Is everybody okay? Say right, move on swiftly. And it's that element of just.
I've got it on my Harvey's on my back.
You know,
I'm the mental health first aider.
And that ticks the box. So
of course.
I don't believe it's directly said. 10 years ago, you might have been just pull your socks up, crack on. But now it's kind of it's subliminal.
Can't be said like that, can it?
And so it's the new bad back. These are the way they see it.
And I guess it's got that's got even more complications associated with it. Really, talk to me a little bit about we were talking a little bit about basic health and safety incidents on site.
Okay, so I was alluding to why I ended up landing on the research question that I did, and it was around about the element of were certain incidents related to or attributable to mental health. And as I got deeper and dived deeper into the data that I'd obtained, it became really apparent from an empirical perspective that there is a causal link between a safety incident, a minor safety incident, and mental health nearly 20 to 25% of the time. And so whereas for many years people have treated safety as one thing and psychosocial safety as a separate thing and treated them in parallel, they're actually entwined, and so they need to be thought about together. And so when we look at safety incidents and go, was that operator error? One of the things I was looking at from an operator error perspective, because that is what the HSG guidance will tell you, is that's a root cause. Well, that's actually, I think we need to be adding, as part of my framework, another layer of that. Well, okay, operator error caused by what? Mental health, or
negligence.
Yeah. And so I think there is another layer down from that. And so we stop at operator error, and that's it, we park it. Right? How do we need to discipline this individual? It's like, no, let's move the discipline. Do we need to talk to this individual? Do we need to either coach them, dig a bit deeper, find out whether they are okay? Because chances are 1 in 4 of your incidents, somebody's not thinking straight because of their lived experience, that they're thinking about doing something. And so if you had somebody impacted,
so they're not actually at work, they're so this is presenteeism, right? So they are there, but they're not really there. So they're there in body, but they're not necessarily in mind. They're not 100% thinking on the job. They may be thinking about the care they've got to give to their mum tonight, or the bills that they can't pay tomorrow, whatever it might be.
They tell you, what do you see on the highways? Don't drive distracted. Translate that into don't operate machinery distracted. And that distraction, in this sense, what I'm referring to is a mental health distraction. Have that person just had a major, are they going through a divorce, a bereavement, financial problems, which, work have historically, or employers have historically said, that's nothing to do with me. And actually, that's becoming a tired phrase, and I think it's getting said less, but employers now are hopefully starting to recognise with some of the work that we're all doing is that actually that's everything to do with me, because that person's coming in with those lived experiences and personal experiences, and I'm asking them to do a high risk activity, but I'm going, I don't want to know about any of their issues over here. I want them to just squarely follow, and it's impossible. The human mind cannot park one thing and then concentrate on another. It's always going to be in your head.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think what stands out to me is as you know, I've mentioned a tool that we use here that is used for varying reasons, everything from assessing business and enabling leaders to enable cultures to run from the sort of top down and bottom up through their organisations, to somebody coming in that might need some life coaching or want to understand or create some awareness about what they've got going on with their emotional system, etc. I guess what stands out to me is kind of when you look at a construction site, you kind of look at, well, okay, what drives it? What's driving a site? So the thing that stands out to me is a desire to meet cost, or budget, program, and quality. And if that is met, you can be proud. So there's pride. There's pride in workmanship. There's pride in what's on view to everybody. There's pride in self-esteem, in how someone presents themselves, representation. And I suppose there's also, but then what else there is it was them. They've held it up. They're behind on program, so we're behind on program. The designers haven't designed it right, so we've got variations, we've got changes. So that creates. So what is a desire to achieve something to reach a level of pride? Actually now turns into a level of anger and frustration
and blame,
and
it fixes nothing.
Them, right? Well, that then starts to create fear, because actually someone did get it wrong, someone did go behind, someone did correct. So that creates fear. So that then goes. So I'm getting the blame because I am behind in my particular discipline. I'm now fearful of the main contractor coming at me, and that guy, because I couldn't get my materials on site, that guy who's waiting to come in behind me also might be coming at me because he's got a load of men waiting to get on with the next bit that's going to follow in the sequence, and he can't get on. So he might be coming. So I've now got fear running through me of me running behind. I've got maybe contra charges heading my way.
Yep.
I only got 3% in the job. If I have contra charges coming my way, I'm going to start losing money on my job.
Yep.
I've got to defend myself. I've got to defend. So then the defensive behaviour comes out. So now sort of fear is turning into anger back the other way.
Yep.
To avoid shame and humiliation for me not being able to deliver on what I'm delivering on.
Yeah.
And then I find a way of circumventing that. I get on to the next bit and I get on to the next phase of work and I can't get on again. So what now sets in? Apathy, hopelessness. I can't get on. And what I'm getting at is that our industry doesn't always necessarily stop to look at things from a leadership perspective, to maybe have the courage to just understand that it is what it is and that we work in a complex industry and it's going to happen.
I think this is where we were talking before around the element of collaborative working and the issue of the client versus the contractor. And some of the work that we've been doing from a non-research perspective is around sort of enterprise working.
Okay.
And, having principal contractors working together.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot less conflict.
You're actually witnessing this, no names, but you're actually witnessing this at the moment. You're seeing this firsthand, right?
Seeing this firsthand, and it's working.
Right.
In so much as, the blame fixes nothing. And the element of working together, they're sharing innovation, they're sharing ideas, they're sharing working practices. Whereas 5 years ago, that's our little secret. We're not telling you how we've managed to do that an extra day quicker. But you talk about, say, that us and them culture. What does that, you talk about fear, shame, apathy. Well, what behaviour does that drive? That manifests itself physically. That's cutting corners, it drives unsafe behaviour. And that's how it manifests itself physically. How does it manifest itself psychologically is you have just added into your stress container a stressor of time constraint, financial instability. And so therefore, as the client, you're adding to the receptacle of stress that we didn't need to. And some of the work I've seen recently around sort of timeframes is instead of going, we want it done by the 13th of next month, we're going, right, there's a 4-week window of when we want it doing by. And the feedback from that has been brilliant. It's like things move back or things move forward. But the element of how a client reacts to that change is absolutely fundamental. And I'm really sorry to hear that still happens in this day and age. But some of the things I'm being witness to and party to now is the client isn't jumping up and down. We are allowing time. Something changes on site, we'll step back. We're here for assistance if you need us, but we're going to step back and allow you to remain calm without us breathing down your neck. And so hopefully we're alleviating at least one of those stressors. We can't take away that there's been a problem or a change, but we can at least remove the element of the client applying additional stress into that receptacle.
It's very important, isn't it? It's very because when you start to look at what the realms of where we're moving into, AI is obviously driving so much in the world these days. Let's not call it AI, let's just say algorithm.
Yeah.
And a computer that has an ability to measure algorithm a lot faster than we ever can.
Yeah.
It's driving so much, isn't it, these days? If I've even seen now, and I've even done it myself, where you can load in a spec, you can load in drawings, you can ask for takeoff in And don't get me wrong, you can't. Oh, you've got to check it. I'm absolutely saying do not rely on anything I'm saying here at all. But you can load it in. You can get some. You can get costs out of that.
Yeah.
You can get RAMs out of that. You can get a design spec out of that. I mean, I wrote a design spec that possibly with a mixture of drawings, context that I could give it, and narrative as to what I would like it to spit out. I wrote a design spec in best part of half an hour.
Yeah.
That I think probably would have taken me, by the time I'd pulled everything together in the past, maybe 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where it's useful. I mean, what frightens me about AI is, like, just jokingly then saying it's going to put me out of a job. But part of my role is to review investigations and put the human touch on it. You can ask AI to do that, but it sometimes spits out the wrong answer. So it's still, but I also look at it and go, if this is where we are now, 2026, my children are going to be 18 in 2034, 2036. What job are they going to do when they come out of school? Is it going to be AI related? Because I go back 10 years and jobs that were just coming out then, YouTube bloggers, some of them are now out of work because they've now been superseded with the technology. And so I do think about what's happening next.
I think the ethics of the industry, we're talking about human beings now, we're talking about mental health now, we're talking about human connection right now in the subject that we're talking about right here, right now. Obviously into the future. So I was reading some stats that by, I think it's 2033, there's an 88% chance that labouring on a construction site will be replaced by robotics.
Wow. In the next 7 years.
8 years.
8 years.
8 years time. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think it's the kind of sort of sci-fi, droids around sort of R2D2 style-y. Not R2D, C3PO style-y.
Yeah.
R2D2's the little one, isn't he? But I think by robotics, by way of what the human mind will be able to connect to by way of machinery, that will be assistive to lifting, assistive to moving, assistive to, a labourer might lift 10 pieces of plasterboard up 3 flights of stairs in half an hour.
Yeah.
So therefore 30, if there's 3 men doing it, 30 can go up there. Yeah. Well, one man with a hydraulic arm that he's wearing,
like an exoskeleton,
connected to his brain, might be able to lift up 2 at once without it being too much strain on the back and whatever it might be. Or it might even just be that something mechanical there's no human interaction.
Yeah.
It's being done by a robot. And I know it sounds like really kind of far-fetched and beyond what a lot of people's imagination might think.
Yeah.
I think it said a plumber is something like 18% likely.
Oh, okay.
Electrician, similar.
Yeah.
Services, similar, because there's a lot more complexity.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, things are going to change. Technology is evolving as we speak. But I'm seeing the use of AI in things like some of the papers I'm reading around the lines of cameras around site, not from a.
You've seen the little dogs, the little Spot. Is it called Spot?
They frighten me. Then I don't like them.
The robotic dogs.
Yeah, no, they don't want to talk about them. But the element of being able to read facial expressions, so not quite barometric.
No, but that's
sort of going,
really important.
That person looks a bit lost, or the eye movement from that. And so you can see it from a sort of zonal perspective, but I think in the next 2 to 3 years or so, that's just my opinion, that we're going to start seeing certain things crop up that will be able to recognise brainwaves of depression, anxiety, and go, actually, do you mind if we just, John, just come over here for 15 minutes, just want a quick chat with you. it's been identified or picked up that
you're not well. You're actually not well.
You're not yourself.
You're not yourself. But at that time, it might even be actually you're not presenting as well at the moment.
Your heart rate's different. And so
all of it being
a bit sci-fi and
Big Brothers, 1984, isn't it? It's like George Orwell and yeah.
And so and that's where I think the positive element of AI is going to be, in terms of the potential use of that biometrics, because they're already bringing it in for things like people and plant safety in terms of like, you're too close. How do you know that? Because the tag on my thing tells me I'm within this certain zone.
Yeah.
So you can just see that it's 5 years ago that didn't exist.
Right. No.
It's going to be leaps and bounds. I think you're going to see an exponential growth and development in technology with regards to that, but in the beneficial way.
Yeah. So does that then mitigate and remove individuals on site?
No, I don't believe it ever would. In terms of, there's always going to be that requirement. I mean, I probably have a slightly different opinion as to how much AI is going to overtake the labour force and what that's going to look like. But the element of the human touch, I don't think you can ever replace it, because you look at some of the AI that's used as part of some of the mental health apps on your phone, and you don't know whether you're talking to an AI that's responding saying, I feel a bit crap today. Have you thought about CBT? Did it? Or whether you're speaking to a human, and I think that can be quite disingenuous. You want to know that you're talking to a human.
I think what we're saying here is, and I think this comes all the way back to where we're kind of at now and where we're trying to go now, is that we, as human beings, have free will and we have choice. And we can choose now as an industry to just keep tick boxing, or we can choose now to actually look at our industry and say, what can we do here to enable improvement? What can we do here to enable something that's better, I think, than what we currently have? By way of, let's be honest, in the private sector generally, it's a race to the bottom at the still, isn't it? It's a race to who can do it at the best price. What main contractor can go in with the kind of best looking prelims combined with program, combined with quality ideas, for them to win, they're going to be our main contractor. For them to then kind of go out to get prices from 6, I've seen sometimes 10 subcontractors to drive the best price.
And again, that's down to the client, isn't it? So
yeah,
our client is the one that's driving that. Now, real probably needs to make this quite clear in so much as when I talk about companies, organisations, policies around mental health, some of them are excellent. Absolutely fantastic. If they did everything that policy said and followed through with the detail, fantastic policy. It's been signed off. It's great. It's on paper it looks great, but it's the decoupling element. What's actually happening at that level? So their policy says this. Their CEO signed off. That's fantastic. I support that. But to John Smith on the ground that's having an argument with his black hat, and that's not translating.
Not translating all the way down through the chain, is it?
So,
no.
And so that's what I wanted to make clear, is that these policies that have got, the organisation that have got these policies, the good policies, it's just how they are enacted, the fidelity around how they're put into practice.
Does the amount of money in a job, so like, does the kind of drive to this kind of race to the bottom or to be more competitive, does that drive an elimination of businesses' even's ability to stand by the policies that they would like to potentially stand by?
I would like to say no, but I'd be lying to myself. And so much so that when costs of this contractor's doing it for this, we'd really like you. Can you match? Can you come down to that? Well, what starts getting cut? What's not needed? Or what's the perception of certain individuals? And you look at the tendering team. And there's an exercise there to do with the tendering team, because the project manager might not be involved with it. I've given you the prices, I've told you the durations. The QS has said these are the cost of the materials. You've got your tendering team going, what can be cut of this now? Let's just shave that. We can shave 15% off that, and that'll marry us up. And so things like I've been on some
BIM,
sites.
BIM. I've
Yeah.
seen BIM. I've seen the amount of jobs I've seen go from 3D to 2D
Yeah,
because of cost cutting exercise.
and you can see the sites that have bought into this. And so some of the sites I've worked on in the last 3-4 years, they've had wellbeing rooms, they've had quiet spaces,
Yeah, I've seen
they've
it.
had gyms, tennis tables, brilliant. And then some of them don't get used,
Yeah.
but some of the ones that have worked really well, there's been somebody having to drive it. There has to be somebody that takes the lead on
Championing.
that. Yeah, championing it. And so one particular contractor during COVID had a full gym and run classes after work
On the site.
on the site, and it worked so well. And I still keep in touch with a lot of those individuals that we all became
Interesting.
friends.
I endorse that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
And so even setting up planters outside, you'd have half an hour on a Tuesday afternoon, moving the plants around, planting and propagating seeds and things like that. It was also with the mental health and mindfulness.
I think. See, look. This place, the padded cell,
Yeah.
is built based on 3 areas. An area downstairs, as you've experienced.
Thank you very much.
For the body, a lounge out there designed for the mind, and this room here for creativity. And I think people will kind of roll their eyes when I say the soul, but we require as human beings, we know as human beings, when we nourish all 3 of those, we potentially optimize our existence, we optimize our experience in the human condition. It's just fact. I think culture and environment to which we create in the workplace has a huge bearing on whether someone is walking into the site or into the office or into wherever they are, here's another day in paradise,
Yeah.
or bouncing through the doors into their office, here's another day in paradise.
I believe I can tell within 5 minutes of walking onto a new site what the vibe is, what the culture's like.
Yeah.
Just from that coming up in the car park, how's it laid out, how's the site looking.
Yeah.
I can tell whether they've had to cut costs on certain kinds of welfare, cabins.
Yeah.
And I can walk into an office and I would say 99 times out of 100 I'm not far off.
You're not a million miles off.
Yeah.
But by the time you've reached the floor plate,
Yeah.
you kind of, I know what I mean.
You're walking down a corridor, this person's sat in this office,
Yeah.
and we're not in an open plan. Not saying open plan's the best, but
Divide and conquer. All the divide and conquer strategies
going
on, isn't it?
When they want to silo themselves, you sat there go, well, that's the first problem we've got then.
Yeah.
And so there's been a few times where I've had a 3 or 4 month uphill struggle with trying to sort of get. I can't influence culture too much because I am just one person, but I can provide advice and provide client feedback and
from what I've heard
Yeah.
of your insights and what you look into and the data that you're collecting, newfound and very much needed and wanted by our industry. I think alongside the likes of Dr. Luke Hand's work,
Absolutely.
Stephen Kerslake's work, Jenny Armstrong's work. And we spoke about it earlier, the examples that exist in our industry, such as the Tideway project, and driven by Steve Hales, and I think the action is CITB, Construction Leadership Council, ministers. Let's recognise. Surely it's just to recognise. Let's listen to someone who's doing a PhD. And put a tremendous amount of effort into collecting data and to making things happening. Not because that one person is going to change it, but because collectively we choose to, we choose to want to do that.
We cannot continue doing the same things that we're doing and expect change. So you look at this. I won't name any names.
No.
Just the councils that you've just mentioned. Then, how can they represent 2.4 million people in this country when they have a 6-figure salary? They don't face the same time pressures, the same work stresses that these people do. And so is it time for a shake-up? I'd say, yeah. Should the tenureships of these individuals be limited to 2 years? Should it be limited by role? Should it be a CEO of a company representing boots on the ground labour? I don't believe it should. It's a bit like being a politician. represent. Politicians tend to be some of the politicians are working class people. They know what the background is, and so. The element of that, it kind of brings me into the focus of, yes, I did start this research nearly 3 years ago. And for the first 2 years of it, I self-funded. And I'm okay with that. I've been very fortunate that National Grid have funded my final year. It's been very appreciative.
Well done, National Grid.
Again,
for getting behind you.
And that shows how important National Grid find this problem that we're facing, this crisis.
It's good to see it's good to see a reputable and clouty kind of organisation doing that.
They've afforded me the time to finish off the doctorate. They've funded the final year.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to how this has the potential sort of possibilities of what comes next after this.
I think one of the things I'm really keen on is you've set and I've spoken to you about it and I can't wait for you to release what you're going to release. I think the baton being able to, with the level of experience and consultancy potential from what you've developed and learned, the baton being able to be passed to a younger generation academic to then go, okay, write it from here's an answer to a problem and an argument by way of what you're going to create. Argue that so, from a young person's perspective.
Exactly. And so you've touched upon a really good point, is that my research is my research now.
Yeah.
I'm improving upon research that was done 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah. It's within current standards. I hope that when I've finished, I'm not necessarily passing the baton on, but I want somebody to disprove me, to improve upon my work and improve upon my research. That tells me then that it's been recognised. And you start ending up, as per Whiteley et al. 2026, his theory was around this. I've looked at it and I've improved it upon. I want somebody to do that. I want somebody to challenge my work and
I'll certainly have a go. I mean, I actually wrote a response to Luke Hans. Dr. Luke Hans is a post that he put on LinkedIn that was up on LinkedIn I saw the other day, and the post was about basically that we're putting a plaster basically on everything. And not actually getting to the root cause of the problems that are being faced. And I then he touched on a little bit of a nerve with myself with that, because I look at our education system and I'm very passionate about this, in so much as that we spoke about the game of life earlier. A young person's journey from 0 to 4 with mum and or dad at home, hopefully both, but sometimes one, sometimes foster, but whatever it may be, with their guardian from 0 to 4. From 4 to 11 in primary school, learning their basics of maths and English and the things that they need to be able to comprehend to be able to be in this world. From then 11 to 18 in secondary school, working out maybe what they're going to want to be, aspiring to be those, some following their dream and having the brain to complete their journey with success. And I say some because I think it's probably fewer than we actually believe, but many not being able to fulfill the levels of academia required at a young age, being very downbeat about themselves and about what they're capable of, because it's all about scores in the curriculum. It's all about scores in the school system. And then that resulting in those that can't maybe do the academia, and it's certainly been the case. I know it's becoming less now, I know, but it's been the case of, better go and get a trade. I better go and start labouring. I better go and do something to try and earn some money, because I can't write, I can't read, I can't do algebra, I can't do whatever it may be. Well, that's something that our industry is inheriting, allowing it to manifest its way into the industry if we're lucky enough that people from our own country with respect do enter into the industry, because many don't. And that results in us with having a big bunch of people on our sites that are there because it's almost like a second-class citizen because they weren't academic.
That's the demographic that is the current demographic, isn't it? In terms of, is this what they wanted to do when they were 10 or 12?
And if it was what they wanted to do when they were 10 or 12, why weren't they afforded that opportunity instead of saying, no, continue with the algebra, continue with the Shakespeare?
Yeah. And so one of my original...
Nothing against that, by the way.
One of my original notions was around STEM.
Yeah.
STEM with a double M. That, you had science, technology, engineering, maths, mental health. And the research I was conducting at the time sort of encouraged emotional intelligence, resilience, all can be taught from around about the ages of...
Ingrained, conditioned.
From the age of 5 to about 12. And that is the time that we are tackling STEM. Why not have another table in that PE room or the sports hall that talks about resilience and mental health,
emotional intelligence, understanding shame, humiliation, guilt.
And so that was one of my ideas at the time. It's not gone away.
No,
I'm still bubbling around. I've just still got a lot of. I've got a lot in my bandwidth with regards to my doctorate.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm really keen to sort of follow through in the future, because I know we've discussed in the past around when my research is finalised, it's published, and I've defended it. Ultimately, I do want to create some kind of free text. How that looks, what that looks like. I've invited help. Many people have reached out to us. I'm very thankful for everybody that got in touch. But ultimately, it was never about trying to capitalise from a commercial perspective. It was always about, how can I improve this industry for my 2 young boys that chances are, statistically speaking, they will follow me into the construction industry. How can I make that better for them in 10 years' time when they do join me?
I think it's...
Because I'll still be working at that point.
I mean, I in 2017, I actually launched a program into schools called Construction Wise Minds. Okay. Children were interacting with a virtual client. The virtual client sends them an inquiry. They have to respond to their inquiry with like we accept that we're going to tender the job.
Okay.
They then have to put together the breakdown, just because it's school learning, a breakdown of the materials, the labour and the profit that they're going to make. They then submit a tender letter, get a purchase order. They then have to create, from the purchase order, they have to create risk assessment and method statement. Yeah. They have to create a program, and they build on a little board what they've priced. Yeah. So they build this little consumer unit with a light out of it with a switch drop, and they build what they're going. They then have to test it, and then have to hand it over snag free, and they get this, like, they go through this process, and it's like, but it's all got wellbeing, understanding emotional intelligence. They get curveballs thrown at them, and those curveballs problems are obviously variations. The client's changed their mind. Client doesn't want the switch there, they want it there, and they've already done it. So it's like, oh, I've got to do it again, kind of. But we're in 7 schools, and then COVID hit, and it's still in one school. It's in one primary school right now. I've managed to keep it alive. I managed to salvage it and keep it alive, and I've kept paying into it. It's cost me a lot of money. I mean, it's thousands to keep it alive, but I've kept it alive on the hope that one day I can actually get it back into a school or a couple of schools with a view to talking about all that we've been talking about today. That kind of like, okay, well, when we have got youngsters that are not sort of gravitating towards the algebra and not gravitating towards the Shakespeare, towards the STEM, well, okay, well, let's gravitate them towards some construction skills. But let's use the lever of, if they really enjoy this or they want to do this, they're going to need some of this. So they're going to need some of the Shakespeare and some of the algebra, because it's just not necessarily. They're going to need some of the basic maths and English to go with this construction package of works over here, so that when they reach 16 or 18, they're construction ready. They understand the site, they understand CSCS, they understand variations, they understand what's going on a job. So when they're going on to a site, they're not green, they're certainly not feeling like a second-class citizen.
Yeah, yeah.
They feel like they've got a purpose that they've fulfilled through school.
Yeah.
That actually is as good as the one who went to university and got his maths degree and is now a quantitative analysis, risk analysis.
Well, the beauty of it is I've referenced the next generation coming in, and if you think about waves of 15 to 20 years, my children, for instance, will be being managed by that next wave. And so it's how their experience and their lived experience now is shaped, will shape how they treat the next wave coming in.
Yeah.
And my thought process was always around be treated or treat people the way you'd like to be treated. And it's served me well in my career so far.
Yeah.
But what you touched upon there with regards to the bit of this, you've basically given them a bit of exposure to quantity surveying, being a P6 programmer, being a project manager, being a site engineer, and it gives them a taster. And even at that point, you sit there and go, I really enjoyed putting a program together. Maybe I'll start focusing on programming.
It's like a golden thread. Yeah. Well, it is a golden thread of something that someone might go, I actually really like that program.
Yeah.
I actually really like that. Now, don't get me wrong, AI is driving so much that can be done these days. Yeah. I mean, when we innovated that course and innovated all that content, AI wasn't doing what it's doing now, wasn't even around, I don't really think. But so it'd be amazing to see what it could do now, and I think we could do amazing things with it now.
Yeah.
But the thing that stands out to me is we suffer from a skills shortage problem in the industry. We also suffer from culture and environment problems that we've already mentioned. If education became a starting point for the industry to invest, CITB, look, I shouldn't mention names, but there is a lot of controversy around the amount of money that gets taken in levies and where it ends up.
Yeah.
And what it ends up doing and what it ends up in.
Yeah.
Big fat cat wages, just nonsense.
It's being exposed, and hopefully people are going to be held to account.
We need some change.
Yes.
We need some, kindly, nicely. We do need some change with that. All right. So to sort of wind things up, finish up a little bit. Where's the number one change? Where do you think it starts? Where do we go? What would be probably one of the most impactful changes that we could make right now in our industry?
So I'm going to take that question and divide it into two, if I may.
That's okay.
So I'll sort of refer back to my STEM hypotheses, where I believe that if we can teach emotional intelligence and resilience at a younger age, and make that more of a sort of a curriculum subject, I think the follow on from that in 15 to 20 years' time, people will be more prepared for when things go wrong, when things don't quite go their way, or the way perceptions are held on certain conversations. That's going to be very, very helpful. But the latency period in instigating that, if you started now, you're not going to see the benefit for 15 years. Yeah. Whereas I think a quicker hitting approach, which is part of my framework that I've come up with as part of the thesis, is around the leadership training around, again, you've got your managing downwards and you've got your managing upwards, around emotional intelligence, and not like I say, not training the team leader or the senior project manager how to be a mental health first aider, but training them to understand that from a cultural perspective, it's okay if you have a member of your team suffering with mental health distress, and being able to help that person and signpost them. And so it's not about being the shoulder to lean on and be that person if that's what within your nature to be, but training them to understand that actually it is okay and it's not a problem for the employer. And so that's kind of one of the fundamental key 5 areas that my framework is heading down the lines of.
Nice.
There's more to it than just that,
of course,
which will sort of be published at a later date.
We look forward to. I mean, I look forward to, once I've read it, maybe we will have you back into the studio.
It's currently 87,000 words. So
87,000 words.
I read a chapter last night to try and sort of, because sometimes you forget what you've written because you write
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it took me an hour to read me conclusions chapter. So
Yeah.
you know, you think it's 7 chapters. You sat there going, this is a good 7 or 8 hour read. So,
It's great that you've put that level and that
but
work
it's years
into
of
it.
work.
Yeah,
And it's support from my supervisor, my colleagues, the people I work with,
Yeah.
talking to people like you, Russell, and other colleagues around sort of mental health. You've all played a certain percentage within finishing that thesis. So
and I think there's a really good sort of starting point for the industry, isn't there? We've all played a part. There's the nucleus of something. Bit more part, 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 bit more part. Before you know it, we've got an industry that might.
So you look at that and go, the likes of Steve Kerslake and
Jenny.
Jenny as well.
Yeah.
10 years in the making so far.
Yes.
Are we hopefully now, with the likes of Dr. Luke Hans, going to start seeing that S curve start spiking with a bit of exponential growth?
It's that trajectory in it. Let's get that trajectory.
Yeah.
Get that dial. We're talking about moving dials, turn it against this.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. It's been brilliant talking to you today, Colin. And I'm so glad you came down here today. Just quickly, padded cell for you, experience-wise, what do you think?
Wow. In terms of some of the treatments that you gave me, Russell, fantastic. It's some of the things you've got downstairs, very, very innovative. I've never seen equipment like it, and the explanation that you're giving around how it works and the technology kind of blew my mind a little bit. It's nice to have your mind blown from time to time and experience it as well. So no, you've got a fantastic setup here, downstairs, and the vibe of what you're looking to achieve is brilliant. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you so much, Colin. Brilliant to have you on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Russell.
See you soon.